I'm live now. Hello, welcome. My name is Terry Jones, and I am joined
Hi,
by,
I'm Tareen Carpino.
and we are going to be doing a a what God, I'm sorry. This is my first time doing this, and I'm getting something on the other screen. I am joined
Hi,
by.
I'm Tareen Carpino.
Okay, so and we are going to be doing a okay, so hopefully, are we still live, Corrine? Okay, because I just had to turn that off. So anyway, we are going to be doing a process here for the Explore Mixed Media with Corrine, Carrie, and Laurie. And Laurie is not able to make it today, but we're here. So let's get going.
Okay.
Okay, so today I am going to put my camera down, and what I'm thinking about today is gestures and waves. And so I got some wave pictures, and I've been playing with some wave ideas. And I went and spent some time in my little journal here. And I did a 4-up of just some gestures of waves. So here I've got a curve, here I've got a really serene. This one I actually used a little bit of collage with, and I really like how that worked out. And this one I just got the little tops. So that was just my thought process. So what I decided to do is I'm going to do a wave that looks like this, and then I'm going to put some texture in it. Now, what I did was I did a spare one there, and I'm going to do one right up here to show you how I'm doing it. And what are you planning on doing, Corrine?
I'm going to do a wave along with you. May look a
Okay.
little bit different, but I'm going to use acrylic ink and watercolor.
Oh, cool. That'll be good. I'm using just at this point, I'm using straight watercolor. So,
Okay.
um, so what I'm doing is I'm making really, really wet my colors. I've got my colors over here in my palette, and I'm making them really, really, really wet. And
What colors am I going to use?
yeah. And can you make sure we are still live, Corrine?
Yes, I just looked. We are live.
Okay, good. That's good. Um, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. This is a grabby. I love these. These are grabby. They're mops, and they really do a really fun job of doing a whole lot of color in one swoop. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is I'm going to start out with my lightest inner color. And I'm just going to say, okay, that's a gesture of a wave. And then I'm going to start adding some other colors in. So it tends to be really light where the light comes through, but then I'm going to start adding some different colors. So this is a phthalo color. And because it's watercolor, if I add it, it's going to just kind of merge together a little bit. And I'm going to end up with a little bit now of a darker color. And I got a little carried away with my wave, but that's okay. It's a little high, but now I'm just adding some more color here on the bottom. And I usually let these waves kind of dry. Um, and then I'm gonna add a little more over here, give it some umph. This wave's going all off the page, but that's okay. And I want to add some more, just a little more green in this area. Most of my stuff, I think, it's so funny. I am so direct and you are so delicate, Corrine. It's wonderful for people to be able to see that.
Well,
difference.
I'm trying to add just a little bit of the ink in and let it spread and do its own
Yeah,
thing.
I know. And I'm just making an absolute, but that's okay because that's what I do. That's kind of my thing is pretty direct and abrupt, and that's what my paintings look like. But and I like this kind of what's happened down there. So I will at that point, I will kind of let mine dry. Yours is absolutely beautiful, Corinne.
Thank you. I'm
And
just coming in with a little watercolor now.
yeah, I'm going to eventually come in, but I have to, because I started with watercolor, I kind
Hmm.
of let mine dry a bit. I will eventually come in with a little bit well, let me see if I can get this done right now for just a little bit of almost clouds. This is where my sky is going to be, and then I will have I don't want to touch. If I touch the watercolor, it will decide it wants to. I'm just putting a little bit of color in here, and I will work on it later. So, what I decided that I had wanted to do was I wanted to put some texture in a wave. So, I'm going to just let this dry and hopefully not touch it. And I'm going to think about texture. I have a variety of different things to put texture in, but I really like this. This is Light Dimensional Ground by Core, which is Golden's watercolor products.
Okay.
And so this one has already dried. So on this one, what I can start doing, oh, I love your wave.
Thank you.
With this one, I can start doing is try to put in some kind of curvy space, like there's texture in the wave. So I have this stencil that I think will work fairly well for this. So I'm going to start here, and it does have a bit of a curve, so I'm going to just let it be. And then I'm going to put some of the some of this stencil, whatever it is, light dimensional on in. Okay, so I do need to pretty much um, hold down my stencil because I don't want it moving. And I want to pay attention to what's happening in my curve. Now I've lost, so I've got this now coming in, but I'm going to want to make a more curvy spot in another up in here. So I'm looking and seeing if this stencil will work, and it might. I just need to put a little more curve in. So I'm going to put a little bit more in here.
All right. So I have the wave stencil, and I'm going to try to use that
Ah, I thought of using
and
that.
flip it around a little bit here.
Yeah, I actually have it for fine stuff for later, but I'm using
The
the
big one first.
the big one first for mine. Yes.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I am. So sometimes with the big one, I also have to let stuff dry in between because I want that real texture there.
And what did you, can you tell me again what you used in the jar?
This is
Is it grounds?
lightenal ground, which is literally it's made for use with watercolor.
Okay.
And it you can also use it with acrylic. But what it does, instead of traditional instead of traditional, I don't want to call it stencil butter, but the texture paste that you use, what
Yes.
it does is because of its light, it tends to not pull up as much color. Because a lot of times when I use traditional texture paste,
Mm-hmm.
the color, especially with watercolor, gets darker.
Okay.
And this light dimensional paste, unless I force it, doesn't necessarily make it darker. It seems to have a little, maybe tiny plastic balls in it. I don't know what it has, but I
Okay.
like it. It's really interesting. So another thing that I use frequently um, with this kind of process also is I may just use, this is drywall tape, good old drywall tape. So I can put some dots in that. And the one thing that we need to remember when we're doing this is that this is a representation. I'm not trying to make something look super, super, super realistic.
Right.
Um, because if I was, I wouldn't be using, I wouldn't be doing this way. So here I'm putting a little more, I'm taking another stencil and I'm trying to make a little more of, it looks like roundness. And I'm going to go back to my first stencil and see if I can get some bigger pieces working. Maybe I'll find mine. I thought for sure I had my wave stencil out, and I guess I didn't. So you do it with the wave, and I won't. So, but I like using a little bit of this stuff just to give myself feeling like there's textures, feeling like,
Yeah, I have some absorbing ground, but unfortunately I can't get the bottle open and I don't have time to go run it under the hot water.
oh, okay, yeah,
So,
that's life.
where I'm going to use, found this Ranger Texture Paste Opaque Matte. I
Ooh,
also have it in a transparent matte, so we can try that.
okay. Well, I have to kind of dry
Yeah,
a little tiny bit, and I'm going to just try to just
oh,
put
that's cool.
a little more
We'll put a
text
few more in.
this, and I may literally knock down a little texture here. So I'm going to go dry so they can
Okay,
watch you put the texture paste in, and I'll dry.
okay. I'm just putting the texture paste through the stencil with a palette knife. If I get some where I don't want it, or I have a part of a shape that I don't like, I can just grab that palette knife and scrape it back and take it off. A couple shapes here I'm not crazy about. Got some little parts of shapes here. So you can do this with, you can take it back off with whatever works for you. Since it's a small spot, I'll just use the palette knife. You can also use a makeup sponge. Let me just get this off. Now this Ranger texture paste dries pretty quick. Um, it doesn't say what the drying time is.
Yeah,
But you can color this with paint if you want before you put it on. You can come over it afterwards and paint. So I'm going to try that transparent matte and see what that does, just because we're exploring today. And my wave stencil and get some finer stuff up into here. I probably should dry this too a little bit anyway, before I go there. So Terry, I'm going to let you kind of take over and I'm going to go dry this.
over. So right now, because I decided that I want to give it just a little more time to dry, I'm going to put my background in with some watercolor. And I really like the combination of, the like early morning waves. So I'm just using a couple different colors of yellow here. I think Hands of Yellow Light and Hands of Yellow Medium and a little bit of Lemon Yellow. And I'm starting out with some yellows, and I'm starting out pretty wet because I'm gonna drop some other colors in it. Hopefully just getting a sense of light in the background like it's dawn. So I've got a little bit of some reds happening here. So if I can put a little bit of reds in and just let it do its little sunshiny thing. I like to put a sun right, you know, this is fantasy. This is not real waves.
Right.
And I actually decided this would make such a great mermaid's tail. Let's do mermaid's tail next time.
Mm,
Be fabulous for a mermaid's tail. Uh,
yes.
so I'm going to pull out a little bit of color here. Um, I have a bullet tip, fantastic, and I just want to make sure that I want to, oh, that didn't work, Terry. So some of the problems of switching
Cool.
switching different um, mediums is you forget that yes, this will really pull out nicely with alcohol inks or acrylics, but it's not going to pull out as nicely with but that's okay. It all worked out. I've
Good.
got sun there for now, and we'll see how it works out later when I finish it, but that works out. So the next thing, how's our time going?
Uh, oh, we're at 11:13. We're good.
Oh, we're good.
I'm
Okay,
going to go dry mine again while you continue.
okay. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting in my watercolor back here, but it's going to be pretty light. I'm not I'm not gonna. I just want to act as if that there's a little bit of water here. I'm going to put more texture in wave wise later. And now I'm going to start working on, so this should be dry. And now I'm going to start working on getting my wave to look more directional. So I might use this texture to just kind of, what you can see is I can take off a little bit of on the top and the texture just kind of dances with it. But I want to put a little more dark around the texture. So it looks like waves are kind of bubbly. And the very back of the wave that's coming here is going to be pretty dark. So now you can see that I have some action happening in this wave. And I'm using the same colors I used before, but I'm
Hmm.
not as I'm kind of placing them a little, I'm actually letting most of it flow between the texture that I put on because I want the texture to look more white or transparent or whatever. So here
So
I'm
you're
just
actually putting the color in between your texture?
in the texture. Yes, more in between. Sometimes like if I want like here, I want it to look a little darker
Hmm.
and I might put some texture on it, but I'm putting most of the color in between the texture in an attempt to get this to look as if there's directional in it. So, I mean, I think the wave's beginning to look pretty funky. I like it. I'm liking it. I'm gonna put some more here and put it in between. And then I'm going to add some more. And I can always lighten things too with watercolor. You really can't, you're not quite as stuck as people seem to think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can pull stuff up. Now, once you use the texture, sometimes you can't pull the color up from underneath of it. But as you see, I can use other colors on the top of the texture too. So like this texture, I'm just putting another color on top of it. So hopefully, as I continue to work, you can see it looks as if there's motion, and it looks as if there's, it starts to look really interesting. And then I can always go back with acrylic and do more, but at this point, I'm just trying to get this all looking. I want it to look as if the sun's shining through it, which I think I'm being pretty successful at that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's working really well. And so now I'm going to do some more down here. Now here I used a different texture tool, and I used my the dots. So, and another thing that I can do if I want, instead of using texture, is I can also use colors to make the dots. So I can come through and add, whoops, no, I can't. I lied. It worked before,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just adding a little bit of directional feel here. And I'm going to add a little bit of directional feel there. And I really want my other one that I thought I had put aside here. So when I end up misplacing my one and only wave,
Oh,
my one and only wave stencil, I sometimes use flower stencils. And as you can see, I've used this flower stencil many, many times. So I am going to, what I want to do is I want to give some idea of more white froth in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to give another little demonstration. I'm going to almost froth this a little more. You see how I'm just using negative painting
mm-hmm.
to just end up with just a little more. It looks like there's little pieces falling off of this wave. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I've got to say dry, 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 dry. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get some of this wave to, I want some feeling that there's some life up here at the top. And I may even do that with a little bit of since I don't have my little wave thing, sometimes I use this this flower and I'll just make them kind of directionally. I'll put them directional. But this time, what I want to do is I want to take, I want to put some white in my, or I want to put some glass beads. What happens if I put some blue and glass beads? See, now I'm
Well,
losing.
glass beads would be cool. I have some somewhere.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering what happens if I take some of these glass beads and just put some up here. Can you guys see me doing weird things? Um,
Mm-hmm. We
let's
can see it.
up here. And then yeah, I like, and maybe put some down in here. And now that means I'd have to dry it again. But I like the thought of glass beads in here. I also wanted to, in the very end, I'll take a little bit of white and get this all kind of working, but let's put a little glass beads in there and see how they work. Okay. And that means I have to dry again, this doesn't it?
Oh, so Terry's gone, and I tried the clear texture paste on the top. Probably should have had some color in it. So now I'm just going back and kind of adding some more watercolor to my wave. I put white paint on top of the texture paste. Now I've got to get some more movement in here. So underneath where I put the texture paste, I am just getting a little color in. I need a little more acrylic paint over here. And I know it's hard to see, but there's little dots in here from the stencil and texture paste, and I have them in white. And after it dries, I may have to put another layer on. And we have some movement over in here. And I'll get some dark under that too. I'm using watercolor. This is, can't remember the name of the color blue, but I'm using whatever's in my watercolor palette right now. But we'll just get some more movement in here around some of those areas. And my watercolor is pretty dry right now, so I'm just trying to get some texture. If I keep it very dry, I can get texture coming up in here. Okay. And I'm going to try to just work this gold color. This is quinacridone gold watercolor. I'm just going to try to work it into and around this wave. Kind of blend it. And so now that the acrylic paint is dry, I can get in here a little bit more and try to blend this up to the wave here. And Terry's back.
I'm back, and I thought I had liquid paper, but I don't. So I'm using some literally it's called watercolor ground,
Mhm.
which will be white. And so I'm pulling just a little bit more white out of the top of my thing by literally just trying to get the very edge, but not always working, but that's okay. I always the not always working, but that's okay, I think is my can be my mantra. Because I really find that a lot of times it just that's just kind of what happens with me. I love the frothiness that happens if I put this through the white, let it come.
That's pretty.
It is. It's working well, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not quite what I wanted to do, but you know, and I do that all the time. I think I have the plan, and don't plan the results is something that I think really important to do because it doesn't always work exactly the way you plan it. And sometimes just changing, what do I say in class sometimes, Cream? It's just an opportunity to change your mind,
Change your mind.
right?
That's right.
All it is, it's an opportunity to change your mind. So I'm just working a little bit with this. I'm going to then let that dry, get some more light up in there. I want it more light like you have in your kind of top, and I want a little more
Yeah,
light in the top. So I've got the glass beads underneath, but I'm hoping that I can just
that's
put
it.
just a touch of this by putting the watercolor ground in. I can put just a touch of this yellow and it's going to just look really warm. And then I can go underneath of it again
Mm-hmm.
with another color and then make it look frothier. If that makes any sense.
Yes. While you do that, I'm going back.
Back to your dryer. Okay. So at this point, what time is it? 10:28. So at this point, I'm getting much closer to being done. So what I'm going to do, what I'd probably do is just pick out again more negative painting. I can just pick out some of these. Ooh, didn't want that to happen. Pick out some of the little spaces in here, and it starts looking almost a little more like there's froth coming off. And I can make this come down. And then more, it's going to be warmer down here a bit. So I'm going to put a warmer, lighter piece through here. I might just take just a little bit of light and put it like there's a little bit of light from that sun showing. And I'll probably end up doing almost like there's some lacy looking stuff happening here. I like that. Give me more lace. Because the yellow is going to, the warmth of the sky really does
Mm-hmm.
have to enter into a bit of our uh, thing here. And I'm going to go back into the center and see if I can get this a little warmer and my sun a little more
That's almost what I want.
sunny. Maybe put a few more clouds in. So I am pretty close to done, I think. I'll put a I'll put three little sail or a little sailboat in somewhere. So if you don't have liquid paper or whatever, or, I could actually, I think I'm gonna go now with my acrylic. I'm gonna go with the acrylic pen. I'm gonna do a white acrylic pen and puts a little more energy in everything.
I am adding a little more texture
Yes, I
to
love you.
this edge here, which needs to dry. And So I'm going to add a little more of this gold color. And I need to bring that gold right up into the bottom of the wave. There we go.
I'm going to have to dry mine just a little tiny bit.
Okay. And I think we'll add just a little more up here. And come down. And now that the red's dry, or the magenta that I had underneath there, I'll pull that yellow right over it. And just clean up my edges now that everything's dry. And I will go back and probably put some extra paint in between this, but I need to wait for the texture paste to dry.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go back and do some more too. But for right now, I'm got a little acrylic pen here, and I'm just, again, I have to watch it because mine isn't quite dry enough yet for an acrylic pen to be able to work. It will pull it up, so I was hoping it wouldn't, but it is. So what I will do after I'm done is just add a few more highlights and try to make it act as if it's going.
Yeah, I'm just splattering now with some watered down acrylic paint and my fan brush.
That, and I'm putting sailboats in.
Kind of give it some energy. And I'm not going to do sailboats and stuff. I'm just leaving it kind of contemporary, and it's
Yeah,
just a wave.
well, and I've just got a few sailboats going in because I always do, but
Yes.
it's just kind of a wave. And then, you know, let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna pull it off and see. I like it.
I like it too.
So I think we've both had a successful adventure here, making textured waves using acrylics and texture paste and all of that. And thank you for joining me. Now, we'll be on next Friday, correct?
Next Friday at 11, join us for more of Exploring Mixed Media.
And I guess that's it. Thank you so much for helping or for joining me, Corrine, and I appreciate it.
Okay, this was great fun, Terry. See everyone next week.
Okay,
Bye.
next week. Okay, and